Hello and welcome to the BurnCast. I'm Brady Byrne.
And I'm Kim Cass.
Today we're looking at a book called Powerful Fruit by author Rent and The Servant.
What?
As always, any criticisms directed towards the authors of works that we discuss
What are you talking about?
are exaggerated for entertainment purposes and are not meant to be taken personally.
What?
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. Let's talk about Powerful Fruit.
Let's talk about it.
So this is a book we looked at as we closed our last episode, and we were going to talk about it because it looked very strange. It's by an author with a very strange name, and the book was absolute nonsense.
Yes, I think, as always, we picked up a couple of key features when we looked through the books, and as it always goes, the cover of this thing was undeniably awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like some sort of stolen image of like a dragon, not even designed really to be a book cover. It was wider than it was tall.
Yeah.
And just had some sort of text overlaid on top of it with the name of the book, but nothing else. I mean, it looked like a 2-minute job.
Yeah, and when you look inside this book, we read a little bit of it at the end of our last episode. It is absolute nonsense. Less coherent than Depth of Reality Unknown was.
Yes. But more coherent, now that I've read a little bit more of it, it is more coherent than Sword of Mortal. But it is exactly like Sword of Mortal in the way that it seems to be not as awful a translation, but definitely a poor translation of something.
Of something.
Yeah, of something. I really don't know more than that.
Yeah. And so we are going to talk a little bit about Powerful Fruit, but we're also going to talk a lot about the author, quote unquote, and what we discovered looking into it, because I did a lot of research on this, and I have found some very interesting things.
Yes. Now, you didn't read much of the book.
I didn't read basically any of it.
Okay. Now, I wouldn't say that I read a lot of it either. What I did try to do was get the story out of it.
Yeah.
I went through and I tried to get the story out of it. So, because obviously this book didn't have much of a synopsis, I mean, it was just as nonsensical as anything else. But perhaps what I should do first, just so that we get some sort of idea to the listeners what we're actually talking about here, the story. It's very, very, very confusing, especially when it comes to things like time and location. All those things are extremely strange, and I don't understand like when this is taking place. It's taking things from different time periods, and you just like have no idea when this could be happening. And right at the end of the book, it says after the First World War.
What?
And I was like, what? Wait a minute. I thought this was like in modern times.
Is it a realistic fiction book, or like, I thought it was Japanese fantasy fiction?
Well, it's definitely not Japanese. It's definitely Chinese.
Okay.
Because there are reference to lots of Chinese things. So that's a little bit for certain, but there were some other things that just... I'll try to go through it.
Do your best.
So, the world, there seems to be these, like, as I go to say it, it makes less sense to me. There seem to be...
It all falls apart.
Okay, let's start with the fruit. Let's start with the fruit.
Tell me about the fruit.
Okay, so there's these fruit, and they're powerful. They give you powers.
Yeah.
They can give you up to 3 powers, that's for sure. So, but gaining the powers is exponentially harder. Getting 1 power is easy, like to get from the fruit, but to get 2 is difficult. It's like a lower likelihood that you get 2 powers, and getting 3 powers is like almost impossible. I don't know what these powers are.
Yeah.
They just seem to be something. Now, getting these fruit is extremely difficult, or at least they just cost a lot of money. So there's these fruit, and then there are also these dragons. Or they're not really dragons, they're just people or like demigods that can shift into dragons, you know, when they need to. And they're not really like world leaders, but they're sort of like...
Espers?
No. They seem pretty content to just live in their little spots, but they seem to either produce the fruit and sell them or something like that. But, you know, they're super powerful beings, but they're not like bad guys, so to speak.
Okay.
And so you have the fruit and you have the dragons. And then you have the main characters. And they seem to be college students. And there are times in the book where they are obviously being called by their real names, which are all Chinese, like Zaifeng and things like that.
Yeah.
But then they also have these like zodiac names. Like they're called Drunk Monkey or Little Rabbit.
Colored Rabbit.
Colored Rabbit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you know that over me, but so they have all these zodiac names and there's 11 of them. And the main guy, Long Taizen or something like that, also named Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Which it was a little bit funny because he's not really like a Chinese calendar animal. Well, all the rest of them are. And he's like the powerful guy. Like, for some reason, he's just strong.
Yeah.
Just physically strong. And in the beginning of the book, they make this organization. And it's kind of like, from what I could pull out of the book, it's some sort of, not criminal, but it's like if you play the game of fruit, you either live or you die, but it's not illegal to like go after them. But you end up running into people that also have powers and they fight you, and there doesn't seem to be any consequences for the people getting involved with the magical powers and shit.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying to make an organization with these 11 friends or people that he's in class with. He wants to start his own organization to get the fruit.
And there seem to be different kinds of fruit. There's the devil fruit, which is apparently at two extremes with the angel fruit. And it's very painful to eat.
Yeah, there's a whole lore behind them, but there are these segments of hard exposition which just, they just don't make any sense. Like, it's talking about things and it also interchanges names, and you're like, but I thought they were talking about demon fruit. But it like,
yeah.
the syntax is just awful. It's just...
It's incomprehensible.
It really is.
I'm amazed that you actually got this much out of it, because it reads, again, like a human did not write this.
Yeah, I swear that a human must have written this, because only for one reason, is that I'm pretty sure that it's a translation, but there's like typos. You know, which a computer doesn't do that. Like, there's a girl named Gladys, which is a funny name to pull out, like...
in like a Chinese mythos, yeah.
Yeah, because like most of them have Chinese names, and then there's like a couple of people that have like English names. And so there's one character named Gladys, but her name is constantly being misspelled, like Glatus, Glidius, and like it's obvious that it's the same person, but it's constantly being misspelled. And I really don't know why, but like a computer doesn't do that, right? And it's so weird. I don't know why. I can't explain it.
Yeah, and I may have some answers to this, because the piece I'm going to get to might be able to explain some of this stuff, but not all of it.
Yeah. For listeners' sake, Brady, you seem to have dug into something else that I haven't heard about yet.
Yes.
And I focused purely on trying to get some story out of this, because I was like, look, I bought this fucking book. I want some form of story out of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, let's just call him Rex, because I hate saying Long Tiang Zhang.
Or Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Or Tyrannosaurus Rex, so let's just call him Rex. And the book does call him Rex at certain points. And so Rex is trying to get together this organization, and he's talking about like, oh, you know, we need to get the fruit, and like, this is going to sound really strange, but there is an African training camp where like people that are wanting to get into the game of fruit, that trains them to do the sort of like fighting things that they need to do to get the fruit, you know, like fight other people with the powers or whatever.
Okay.
And this African training camp comes up all the time. Like, two of the characters go to this African, like Rex sends them to go to this African training camp, and it keeps coming out. He's talking about how many people are like getting different, I guess, like levels. Yeah, they're like, oh, 30 people got out of that African training camp last year at like a B level, and like 69 got out at like a level C, you know, and I don't know what this all means, but it seems to be some sort of African training camp where he also sends two other characters.
Yeah.
Now, I skipped ahead because I was like, okay, well, there's a fruit. What is his plan? But there is no plan, so to speak. They go back to school or university or whatever, but apparently the dean, he's like a powerful fruit guy, and for some reason, Rex wants to fight this man. There's a fight going down, I don't know why, so they need to get some fruit so they can get some initial powers to fight him. And then, this is when the Hebrews come in.
What? What?
Now, the Hebrews, they are selling some fruit. They contact the Hebrews, now... I don't know why they're called Hebrews. Hebrew is the language, not the people, you know? But the two Hebrews come and they offer to sell them they kind of like have this auction or whatever. There are other people there that want the fruit as well.
Of course.
And they're auctioning for the thing, but apparently Rex downplays how rich he is. So the Hebrews think they are like, there's some sort of strange thing where like if he bids too high and can't pay, then apparently they have to pay 10 times the price. So, like, the Hebrews are like, yes, like, we'll take him for a ride. But Rex is downplaying how rich he is, you know?
Yeah.
And apparently all the kids that go to this university, they're all quite wealthy because it goes into this exposition saying how, like, to even go to this university, you need to have, like, 10 million yen. So, like, you'd think that the Hebrews would put 1 and 2 together, but they don't and think that Rex is pretty poor. And so he bids up the price and they're like, oh, we'll take him for 500,000 yen and he won't be able to pay that or something. Like, I think. Honestly, I whatever or whoever Rent is, if you're listening to this, 1 in a million chance that you'll ever listen to this. But whoever is responsible for this book, I'm sorry if I offend you by not understanding your book correctly, but I'm doing my best. So he buys this fruit and it shocks the Hebrews, but they have to sell him the fruit now.
Right.
So he whips out his 500,000 yen and they're like, oh shit, you know, and like he gets the fruit. He gets 2 fruit. He gives 1 to his like homie. He gives it to a drunk monkey and he takes the other one. Now that they have the fruit, I just want to read you this thing because it's Rex explaining to his comrades how this is all going to work, like how he's going to structure his organization. And I just have to quote it because it is brilliant. Like, for some reason, I just really love this. So, quote, Tyrannosaurus Rex smiled and said, yes, the first rule is to seize 3 kinds of fruit as much as possible. No matter where the fruit is, you can follow the rules and do not use force, unless that force is stronger than us. After a meal, Tyrannosaurus Rex said, second, the end of the traitor above the 5th floor, thousands of knives. The traitor on the 6th or 7th floor, the 5 horses divided into bodies. And the 8th, storied traitor, dead. And then it says the third rule.
What?
Members of the guard shall not fight each other. If you want to call to the life and death stage. Then rule 4, provoke the forces of our organization, no matter who it is, and you will be killed. Okay?
Okay.
And then rule 5, those who secretly swallow foreign money will be imprisoned to death. And those who have not been arrested shall have a list of him engraved in the order of the organization of the wanted person in the reward ticket for the mission. I was like, all right. So there you have the 5 rules. And you certainly don't want to be imprisoned to death.
It's absolute nonsense.
It's like the Bible, you know? You have to look between the lines here.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's that you get imprisoned for life.
Yeah.
But the way it's written, oh my God.
Yeah, I try to interpret it in a messy translation.
So, yeah, he's laying down the law to his new organization, and there seems to be some sort of thing where, like, I don't even know what you call it, like, he has to, I think what is trying to be said is that if you have powers, other people with powers know. They don't like that, so they'll try and kill you, basically.
Right.
So he's like, as soon as we get the fruit, we have to fight the dean because he has powers, and he'll just try and kill us.
Of course.
Yeah, if we don't just go and fucking immediately fight him, you know? So, yeah, and I do want to mention that the chapters, you've seen this, but it says chapter, for example, 35. Update time, 2009, December the 21st at 2 o'clock, 2:30 p.m. It's like every chapter has a time when it was fucking finished.
Yeah, and then the word count.
Yeah, like, so strange.
I might have an answer for that as well.
Now, chapter 35 is about halfway through the book, right?
It's a long book.
Oh, yeah, this fucking thing. Oh, my God.
It's really long, yeah.
So there was some sort of thing where, like, some sort of family feud and he had to fight his uncle or something like that, but it was very unclear. And then, like, everyone has these zodiac names. It's like the horse and the lazy sheep, you know, and they're like all... But they must be people because they...
They're characters of the story, yeah.
Yeah. So we're up to halfway in the book, and it's chapter 35, and today is the day where they go to fight the dean, right? They're gonna fuck the dean up. And I have to read this part as well because it's quite good. Now, I actually found myself, because it's very, very sword immortal.
Yeah.
Except I like this one so much better because they're not playing a game.
Yeah.
So at least you know it's like a real thing and not like they're playing a video game, which, say what you will about this book, but at least it's like not just a guy sitting in his room playing fucking nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
So, today is the day. Quote, "Today is the end of the final. The champion is Sam, who I think is Rex. I don't know why they call him Sam all the time.
I thought he was Xianzhang or whatever.
He is, but it's like his English name or something like that. I don't ask too many questions because I won't be able to answer them. Today is the end of the final. The champion is Sam. The day to enter the final is also Sam. Originally, the two were ready to enter the final venue. It's like, what? There are two people both named Sam? What? What? Whatever. So, to the final venue, found that they can only enter one person. Shadow knows that Sam's strength is much stronger than his own, so he lets Sam into it. He stayed to block those people that, I guess, are... I don't know. There's so much unexplained here that you're just struggling. And finally, after Sam entered the final venue, the Shadow surrendered to himself. Nature turns into a program that disappears. That's just a line.
It sounds exactly like Sword Immortal.
So now Rex rushed to the Dean's office with his pajamas glowing Sam. And when he came to the Dean's office, there were already several people standing in. Dean, give us your fruit of your power. My organization will be here soon, so San Francisco will be the world of our organization sooner or later, said a young man whose hair was dyed colorful and apparently a punk. Well, it depends on what the champion wants. If he wants the fruit of his abilities, then I'll give it to him, and if I don't, I'll let it out for you. Dean smiled at several people. Oh, I'm sorry. The champion's request is just the fruit of power. At this time, Rex came in first and then looked at the Dean and said, "We haven't seen each other for a long time. It's been almost 4 or 5 years, Your Honor. What is your boy? Are you a champion? Well, just in time. Give us the rights of your interest in the champion, Lao Tzu, and I let you here. I leave you here safely. Otherwise." And then, after the young man said it, he rubbed his hand, indicating that if you don't know his face, don't blame him. Okay. Boy, even the first character in your organization dare not talk to me like that. Not to mention, you son of a bitch! With that, Rex figure disappeared into the eyes of everyone. And then he just says nail boxing. And then they seem to fight or something. But the fighting is like, he says nail boxing, and that's supposed to be like some sort of spell or something like that. That, I don't know. The young man's body was pierced by Rex in an instant. Rex threw the young man's body aside and said directly, "No strong guy is qualified to live. Only death is your ultimate destination."
That makes sense.
Yeah. You are Sam, the champion this time. So what is the reward you want? Or, as the dragon said, to be able to bear fruit.
Goddamn.
Well, I want to bear the fruit of your powers. It just goes back and forth like that, again and again and again. Nail boxing. I'm lit like fire jumps. Why? So you have a little bit of this strange thing. Now, the rest of the book seems to slip into, like, they get more fruit and Rex gets very, very powerful. They pick up someone else who can, like, shapeshift into, like, a wolf, but it's not like he's a wolf and he's just a wolf. It's like he's a wolf and he can fucking fly and shoot fire and do whatever. Like, it's very auspicious.
Yeah. So
there's demon fruit, there's evil fruit, and blah, 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 blah. But then things get very strange. I couldn't get what happens out. Like, I don't even know. It's some sort of like thing where they have to go now to the dragon and fight him, but it's not obvious as to why. Like, they seem to be fine. Like, they have their organization now and they have some fruit and they do one or two things, and then there's like the shadow tiger or whatever. I don't know what he is, but he's there. And also people come back from the African training camp and they're now powerful too. And I have a little note here. This is chapter 53. which is when they begin to fight the dragon. So they go to the dragon, and it says that he's a S-class or quasi-SS level. So that's like the highest level of fruit.
It probably ate a lot of fruit.
Yeah. So I don't really understand the like ranking system of the power, because it's like C class, B class. It just doesn't make much sense at all. There's also someone called Golden Scorpio. Who knows what that guy is? So they go to the dragon, and then he appears before them, the dragon, and it says, "Heaven and earth discolored. Grey became the main tone of the sky, and all the people and animals raised their heads to look at it. Not often. A dark western..." This, I guess, is when the dragon shows up, but it says not often, as if, like... so not often. The western dragon appeared in front of the people. Black scales, bat wings, scary fangs, all of which show that the dragon is not a soft persimmon.
What?
A persimmon, you know, the orange fruit? Like...
Okay.
It's not a soft persimmon, okay? And then Rex turns to his comrades, Taurus and Shadow Tiger, and they're like, "Are you coming, guys? Like, we have to go fuck him up now." And they do battle. They do all this weird, undescribable... Your attack is too weak. Even the ability is caused to harm you or step down early. It's just like, they say things, but it doesn't, like, make any sense. You just know that they're fighting.
Yeah.
The film tiger has not yet lost. This may be the moment where the film tiger ranks its ranking on the list of S-rated powers. So wait patiently. Okay. Yes, and so they defeat the dragon, and this is where I got really confused, because the ending of the book doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't even make sense in the way that the rest of the book kind of did. Like you can sort of understand that, they need to get the fruit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The end of the book doesn't seem to continue the story. Like, it I really don't know what to say. I tried my hardest to go, so what was the ending? They defeated the dragon, and they go, and Taurus is there, and there's a World War I is ending, or something. None of it makes any sense, but there was quite a good line I just have to bring up, and this is just them talking, like, not in any confrontation or whatever. It's just Rex's friend Taurus talking about war, I guess. Psychological warfare, ? Taurus obviously does not quite understand what Rex means. After all, psychological warfare is generally used in shopping malls. Used in combat, it's still very rare. But a psychological war let the two looks at each other for 2 hours, which makes Taurus even more puzzled. Me too, bro. But yeah. Psychological warfare is generally used in shopping malls.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
So we get to the end of the book, and it seems to have some sort of, like, epilogue, but again, it doesn't, like, they're, like, fighting this dragon called King Arthur, but the fight doesn't end. Like, King Arthur just goes back into human form.
What? King Arthur?
Yeah, because they face the Western dragon, and now they're fighting King Arthur, but the fight doesn't end. And I don't even know why they're fighting him. Like, they go to him as if they need to, like, just kick his ass. And they go to him, and the last line of the book is like, Rex took the lead. This time he did not use the dragon charge, but used his own space-like ability. The surrounding space began to slowly chaos up. All around can clearly see the pattern of space concussion. The end.
What?
Then it has this epilogue that goes, after the First World War, no one knew who won and who lost.
What?
The only one thing, the strange fruit became the real first hegemony. The Zodiac never appeared again, and the Z country also returned to the hands of the strange fruit. Today's powers are proud to be able to enter the consequences. To what extent are you now? A young man in black asked the girl in red next to him. I have entered the 4th floor. Oh, you have worked hard, or I catch up with you in the past, and then have more people who will pursue me? You do not have many opportunities. The girl in red smiled. It doesn't matter. My loyalty is enough. I'll go to the African training camp tomorrow. I'll definitely be better than you. Then maybe I'll go to the 3rd floor. The young man in black looked at the girl in red with his arms around his chest. That is the last thing in this book.
Okay, well, that...
So there you have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps your side of things, knowing the story.
Well, it does explain some things, and I'm going to provide some context to some of this stuff, and maybe it'll answer some things, but it may also just raise more questions.
Now, I do want to say that this author, this thing, or whatever it is, The Powerful Fruit is not his only quote-unquote book.
Right.
He has many of these things, and they seem to be all in similar construction. They seem to be just like nonsense.
Yeah, and I want to talk about one of those books in particular, and it is called The Melee Mage, and it's the only book on Rent's profile that has a review.
Oh.
It says, 2 stars, translated text serial turned into a book. And it goes, the story seemed pretty good. However, it seemed like the author did very little to make this manuscript novel ready. First, the author needs to get some English-speaking proofreaders. I'm not normally as picky about translation errors as some people are. However, just changing all the parts where people refer to themselves in the third person would go a long way. I took 1 star away for translation. Less forgivable is that sandwiched between every chapter or so is the author's old blog. In a serial, this is acceptable. However, in a novel, we want to be told a story. We don't want the story broken up every chapter by how the author did this week, back in 2013 or 2015 or whatever.
Oh my god.
Then, too, the author on the blog does not seem to be the same as the one on the novel, Rent. The overall impression is that the author isn't taking pride in what he or she has done, which is a shame, because the start of this book is pretty good. I took 2 stars away because the author didn't bother to make the series into a novel. Ultimately, I couldn't finish the book because of all the breaks in the storyline. That's a 2-star review.
I gotta say, fucking wow. There are some generous fucking readers out there.
Let me read you a little bit of this. This is what takes place in between the chapters of Melee Mage.
Okay.
Like, a chapter will end as a storyline, and it goes, the new book is more open. I hope you can help Lao Yun publicize it more. In addition, the new book will not be updated too fast this week. Next Monday will not let go of the speed. We want to fatten C no problem, but collection and flowers. I hope you will not hesitate to hit Lao Yun. That's like sandwiched in between 2 chapters, like every chapter of this book.
But in what situation are you?
I have an answer for this. So I started looking more into Rent because this is all very confusing. The weird mistranslations, the blog being sandwiched between the chapters, the whole like update time thing, it all was very confusing to me, but there's something clicking in the back of my head, and I almost knew what it was at first, but it took a little time to look into it.
It's Milan Vanorin. He's back.
When you look on Rent's page, it's like a treasure trove of Sword of Mortal Onlines. Really, like every single one is like this.
Oh my gosh.
And it got me thinking about Depth of Reality Unknown. And I started to suspect that maybe Powerful Fruit is also a fan fiction, because I did a Google search on the image of Powerful Fruit, and it led me to a panel from the Japanese manga One Piece.
Oh yeah, they eat fruit and that shit too, don't they?
Yes. One Piece also features these powerful fruit, specifically the devil fruit, which is a main aspect of this Powerful Fruit story, and that image of the dragon is from a character in One Piece. Now, I searched hard, but I could not find any more specific fanfiction about Powerful Fruit, and it doesn't seem like too much of Powerful Fruit from what you've told me is that related to One Piece.
Yeah, no, One Piece is quite a popular thing.
Yeah.
It was on TV when I was a little kid, and it's like about pirates.
Yeah.
It's a very, very fantastical sort of piratey thing, but the fruit is like the origin story of the main character's like stretchy abilities.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a stretchy boy.
Yeah. It seems like Powerful Fruit took some other story, maybe original, maybe fan fiction, but included this aspect of the fruit from One Piece.
Yeah.
And the search for the image leading to One Piece would suggest that to me. Now, the other thing I discovered is that Powerful Fruit is a Kindle Unlimited book, as many of the books we read on the show are. Now, if you don't know what Kindle Unlimited is, it works a little bit like Netflix. It's a program from Amazon that helps authors who aren't really likely to sell a high amount of individual books to still make money. So basically, as a consumer, you pay for Kindle Unlimited, and you can read an unlimited amount of books listed in that program for a flat fee. And the way authors are paid for this is that Amazon has a pool of funding called the Kindle Direct Publishing Select Global Fund, which has about $22 million in it per month that's distributed to these authors. And the way it's done, at least until 2015, authors were earning based on the number of times their books were downloaded. However, people started uploading very, very short books to increase the amount of times their book was downloaded, and Amazon started only paying about half a cent for each page read. This was to stop scammers from just uploading a bunch of short books and getting their friends to sign up for Kindle Unlimited and downloading them over and over again. And so the maximum amount of pages that Amazon will pay for is about 3,000. And this way, an author can earn about $13.15 per book downloaded this way. And so lots of people started doing these aggressive emailing lists, and other Kindle Unlimited scammers would form these groups to download each other's books and just skip through the pages to get each other paid. And I'm taking a lot of this from a website called Inc.com, which did a report on this. And certain estimates say that the most successful books were earning up to $100,000 a month.
You can't be serious.
I am. But this is in cases where a book was very successful and the author is also doing something called stuffing, which they would sell a book, and in the back of that book, they would fill the rest of the space with up to 6 more books.
So just like making it longer.
Yeah, just stuffing it. And this would increase their rates because Amazon is paying per page read. Now, why doesn't Amazon do anything about this? Often the Kindle Unlimited scammers are paying for lots of promotional ads on Amazon, so they're still making money off of it. Now, something like Depth of Reality Unknown and Powerful Fruit fit this bill, but they're probably far off from the major successes.
Yeah.
But whoever's uploading them is getting some money off of it. Now, this search led me to the bigger and perhaps greatest discovery that I'm going to present today.
I need to open another beer. This is killing me.
So I started looking for fan fictions so that I could find out where Powerful Fruit came from. And I ended up stumbling across a fan fiction on fanfiction.net starring a very curious character named Bahamut.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I already told you that we're not doing any more Bahamut stuff. I can't. I already said, I told you after we read that book that I wasn't doing any more Bahamut stuff.
Well, guess what? Guess what? I found it. All of it.
The whole book?
I found the original Depth of Reality Unknown, and it's completely legible. It's not broken writing like we saw in Depth of Reality at all.
Really?
Someone, Milan Venora and whoever this was, stole it and they uploaded it to Amazon, a long-ass book to get people to click through the pages, and they got paid for it. It really was a scam. Now, that doesn't explain why the text is so poorly written in Depth of Reality.
Yeah, because Depth of Reality was written like a child hitting a keyboard.
Yeah, it's not like that. Depth of Reality is not a translation. I found the original text. I compared what we have on Kindle to what's written on fanfiction.net, and it is written completely legible. The writing is fine. It reads like a real story. All of the pieces that we read that were broken, specific sentences, are complete there.
What? But then why is it broken?
I have no idea.
My assumption would be that I don't know in what format the fan fiction is published, and it's not done on a PDF thing. I would assume it's more on some sort of blog, or like you'd know that, obviously.
It's on fanfiction.net. Now, when you're reading a chapter of this, there is no function to copy and paste text. So maybe they used some sort of software that like takes an image or something
and then passes out. And then I could imagine there would be quite a few mistakes in there from there. And that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that could be what happened.
Do you think it could be like a sort of Chinese whispers type scenario where, let's say, Google Translate into Spanish and then Google Translate back, that'll break half the sentences?
Maybe. I don't know, because specific sentences are still there, the exact way they appear in Depth of Reality. If you remember, some of the sentences were fine. It was only like every other or third sentence that there would be something weird. Maybe a reason why the text is so fucked up is because Amazon has some way of scanning for copied text. And if you change up a few letters and just delete some random words, maybe that doesn't flag it.
Well, yeah, perhaps.
However, that's not all. The Depth of Reality Unknown that we read is, in fact, only half of the third part of a longer series called The Servant, which is a complete crossover of all Final Fantasy games in one fan fiction, totaling at 3,883,029 words.
Who wrote it?
It is by an author named Piccolo Sky. Now, for reference, the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, including The Hobbit, is about 500,000 words. This is 3.8 million. It is long. And it is a saga detailing aeons of life from the birth of their espers, their rise to and fall from power, Bahamut's death and rebirth, and so much more.
Oh my god.
So a part of this story was stolen by Milan Venoran and shamelessly uploaded to Amazon, which might be what a lot of people were doing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like, you just want to make some fucking books, so you fucking go and you find whatever the fuck you can.
Yeah.
You rip it up, you slap it up, you compile it, and you put a random fucking picture on the front.
Yeah.
I mean, Depth of Reality Unknown had a picture of a fucking crow, and seeing as the book is about fucking dragons, that didn't make a whole lot of fucking sense.
Yeah. And so, Depth of Reality Unknown actually does have an ending. We just didn't get it, because it's not even taking the beginning of that part of the story. It takes place in the middle of part 3 of this saga. So there is an ending. And I read it.
So does that mean I could find the ending to this book?
Yeah, and guess what? I have the answers to everything.
Oh my god.
I know who Griever was. I know who Crusader was. Teratopolis, the origin of Bahamut and Wyvern's hostility towards each other. I read it. I read the whole thing.
What about Lich?
I know about Lich. I'm going to tell you about Lich.
Does Lich have his own, like...
Yes, I have answers to everything that we asked in that story.
Oh my god.
I did not read 3.8 million words of this, okay? I actually only read parts 1 through 3, which the parts that we read take place in the third part, which are called The Servant, the Wyvern Battles.
Oh my god.
And that is only half of the entire story. Remember, this is 3.8 million words long.
But how can you do, like, forget about the scammery on Amazon, but how, like, why are you writing 3.8, a 4 million word thing on Final Fantasy? Oh my god.
So, there is a story there, and I'm going to tell that story. Or at least get the closure that we were robbed of with Depth of Reality Unknown. And it starts in part 1, the Griever Saga.
My god. And this is really written in, like, fine English.
Perfectly clear.
I'm fucking infuriated.
So, strap yourselves in for the real story of Depth of Reality Unknown, because I'm going to tell the whole thing right now.
Man, things have really escalated.
It begins with the Griever Saga. And this is part 1, totaling at almost 200,000 words.
They were talking about what happened to Griever, and we were just like, what happened to Griever?
Yeah. Who is Crusader? What is Lich? Yeah. We don't know, but now I know. So, this begins with the very birth of the Espers. And Wyvern and Bahamut are both born and taken care of by a soft-voiced, powerful woman named Crusader.
It's a woman.
Yes.
Crusader is a woman.
Yes. Now, Crusader introduces them to the world of Ultima Nexus and the dark underworld where evil creatures are said to roam below. Crusader warns the young Espers not to go there, yet Wyvern convinces Bahamut to anyways. At this point, they're still good pals. You know, they're twin brothers. Let's not forget. And exploring the world, they encounter some humans who Crusader referred to as the evil ones, and they seem to be worshipping a talking statue, which they refer to as Griever.
Griever is a statue?
Not quite. Now, the people fear Griever, and following a moral quandary in which a starving human wishes to eat another person for food, Griever blasts the human with lasers and melts them.
Oh my god. Fair enough.
And so Bahamut and Wyvern are discovering this strange world of humans worshipping this idol, and they start to get a little curious. Now, Wyvern, being quite different from Bahamut, having maybe a crooked moral compass, you could say, wants to steal a human to ask it questions. But Bahamut is wary of its evil nature, as Crusader told them they have one. But they take one, and something pops out of the ground, a monstrous, deformed, human-like creature. Bahamut and Wyvern believed that the creature was sent by Griever to eat the humans. Now, it's revealed that the talking statue was actually just an idol erected to worship Griever. However, he, in actuality, is some sort of hideous beast with monstrous power, who has convinced the humans that he is their god and has made them put up monuments of him to worship. Now, the Earth Fiend that they encountered earlier is Griever's conscript and is called Lich.
Oh!
Yes, and so Bahamut and Wyvern attempt to fight Lich, but he's too powerful in his Z form.
I see. I always knew that Lich was fucking strong.
Yeah, big time. But so the two argue about how to defeat him, but they differ on their methods. Wyvern tries to train with brute force, while Bahamut meditates. And when they face Lich Z again, Bahamut charges up a Byrne.
Oh my god.
That is bigger, hotter, brighter, and stronger than any Wyvern could muster.
Fucking Wyvern, you should have meditated, you dumb.
But so they fight 3 more fiends. All of the Espers do. You know, all of our favorite pals. Odin, Leviathan, Starlet, Bahamut, and Wyvern. And they discover that Crusader, who they believe to be their mother, has been Griever all along.
No.
Yes. So Crusader and Griever are the same thing. Now, the hot-headed Wyvern, believing himself to be the most powerful Esper of all, attacks Crusader with all of his might, yet he barely manages to scrape him. Bahamut learns of his Omniapex, however.
Ah, the Omniapex.
Yes! Which is his ultimate power after he has a vision from the true mother of the Espers, who's not quite revealed yet. He uses it on Griever, and the beast is vanquished. Now, this is basically the end of Part 1, the Griever Saga. I am summarizing a lot here.
I can imagine.
Because, again, this is like 200,000 words.
I fucking...
It's like half of the Lord of the Rings. So this is paraphrasing a lot.
Lord of the Rings ain't got shit.
I couldn't possibly have read all of that in a week.
No, yeah. I wouldn't put it on any single man to read any of it in his lifetime.
Now, that's the end of Part 1, and there's a very interesting section at the end of Part 1 that is titled Author's Final Ramblings.
Oh, God.
And he thanks you for reading his story. Talks about how the Griever Saga was his prelude to the Final Fantasy series, telling about how the Espers came into the world, and coming soon will be the next part of the saga in which the Espers set about becoming independent and forming their own kingdom. The seeds of evil within their hearts germinate to produce a wickedness that threatens the world. And this entire saga, all the way up into Part 6, carries throughout the entire lore of Final Fantasy in totality. Now, he also gives power ratings for everyone in the story. Which is almost like a Sword of Mortal kind of thing.
Yeah, like what's the scale? Is it out of 10 or is it out of 100?
So the average human, for reference, is at a power level of 5, let's say.
Okay.
So at the beginning, you have Bahamut, who is at level 43, and Wyvern is at 41. Gives power levels for Odin, Leviathan, Ogopogo, Starlet, Phoenix.
Oh, do you have a power level on Ogopogo?
He's a measly 20.
No.
One of the weakest Espers. And then Crusader's Wisdom form, which is at 3,764. So she's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Now, that's at the very beginning of the story, but when Bahamut and Wyvern face off against Lich 1 and 2, Bahamut, after learning his Byrne, jumps up to a 98. And Wyvern, after learning Byrne, jumps up to an 83. So still outclassed a little bit by Bahamut there.
Yeah.
It gives you beat by beat their power levels as it progresses through every fight, and all the way up until Bahamut fights Crusader's 4th form, which is at a 17,000. But Bahamut's mega final Byrne is at a 30 grand.
Damn.
So he's boosted himself up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's quite a jump.
Yes, and now that leads us into Part 2 of the story, called the Chaos Legacy. Now, Chaos is the final boss in Final Fantasy 1, of course.
As we all know. Yeah.
And this section is also almost 200,000 words. And at the start, we get some Ogopogo action.
My favorite.
Yeah. So he and the other Espers are training under Bahamut, and Ogopogo is having a little trouble. they try to search for a new place to live as they want to make out their own independent kingdom. And they find a lifeless rock, which Bahamut turns into a better planet by giving it a sun.
What?
I don't know how. I didn't read that part, but...
No, he probably charged up his Neopix.
yeah, it could be, yeah. So they're trying to think of a name for this place, and Ogopogo foolishly suggests that they call the new planet Ultima Nexus 2, which no one likes.
Of course, fuck, man, what is he even thinking?
But then Leviathan suggests that they call it Teratopolis.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Another question answered, finally.
Yeah, I told you, I found them all.
Teratopolis, what is it? Now I know.
So now the Espers want to reproduce. And they do so by...
if there's any sex stuff, we can move past it. Just give me more power levels.
It's important. It's important.
Oh, okay.
They do this by merging power spheres or something.
Okay.
And Leviathan merges his power orb with Phoenix. And they end up with 2 Esper babies.
Okay.
Titan and Rama, which are both summons in Final Fantasy. And then Odin wants to have a baby with Starlit, but he wants to do it the normal way. And she agrees to this, but she simply cannot wait until the evening. So she wants to do the power orb thing with Ogopogo.
The powerful fruit thing.
Yeah. And Odin is quite displeased by this.
As you would.
Yeah. The process is a bit harder this time because Ogopogo is a weak and feeble Esper.
That affects lovemaking. Yes.
Yeah. But in the process, they make a weird bird-like Esper, and Ogopogo complains that it doesn't even have scales because it doesn't look like him.
Oh my god, what a fucking waste of time.
But so then the Espers all agree to have children every 50 years or so.
That's kind of rigid. That's a little bit...
Again, they live on the scales of thousands of years, so... As they sort out how they'll operate their new society, Wyvern suggests that they need a king of the Espers. And at the start, Bahamut is a bit wary of this because of what happened with Crusader.
This is all starting to sound very familiar now.
Yes. Now, eventually he caves in. But Wyvern suggests that he and Bahamut vote themselves in both as the king in a joint venture, as they are the strongest Espers. But they disagree on a lot of things still. Wyvern wants to rule over the humans, or at least give them a push in a certain direction. Whereas Bahamut, a bit more benevolent, wants the humans to have their own sense of agency. And when Wyvern is asking Bahamut to vote for both of them, he says, be a pal, Big B.
No way!
This will come back later.
It's funny how, you have these, ultimate powerful beings, and they talk so informally, yo, B!
Yeah. Big B. But when the votes are called, it's revealed that Bahamut didn't vote for himself and Wyvern, only himself. And so when they're calling the votes, there's only one vote that's for both Bahamut and Wyvern at the same time, and it's Wyvern's. Now, Wyvern is stunned to see that Bahamut is chosen as the leader. And I am stunned to see that Ogopogo also voted for Bahamut, since we know he betrays him later on.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But you see, this is it. Wyvern trusted Bahamut and feels slighted by him. This begins their divergence.
Yeah.
He calls Bahamut a traitor and leaves the Esper world behind.
I mean, he did betray him, though. But,
yes.
Fair enough.
Yes, this was the one mistake, that one argument from ages ago. Could that really have caused us? This is that.
Oh my god.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my god.
It's all coming together.
It's so funny because I've never had so many questions and received so many answers from something that I really didn't think I would ever get an answer to.
I know. And from the author, it says at the end of this chapter, after Wyvern leaves, a seed of evil has been planted, and one day its fruit will be bitter poison. And we have seen the result of that.
Yeah.
But so then... I skipped most of the Chaos Legacy because it was pretty boring and it had nothing to do with Wyvern anymore. Which is what we really care about. The Espers pit their children against each other in physical contests. Odin is disappointed with his son Gilgamesh, who we also Saul referred to.
Oh, yeah.
Because Gilgamesh just wants to, like, learn and acquire knowledge and write books instead of fight.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's a nerd. And Odin wants him to be a powerful Esper. They fight a giant machine named Ark, and they learn to shapeshift into humans. Yes. But Gilgamesh flees the Esper world and returns as a hideous, powerful monster.
Of course.
The one that he feels his father, Odin, always wanted him to be. So there is some patriarchal struggle there.
Oh, I see.
And at this point, Odin still rejects him. So there's quite a tragic backstory there.
I mean, this is like real story stuff.
Yeah. But so then, like, thousands of years are chronicled. Bahamut and his friends meet the Warriors of Light from Final Fantasy I, and they fight chaos at the end. Then we get to part 3, the Wyvern battles, which is the real meat of the story. And this is totaled at almost 600,000 words.
Oh my god.
It's really long. Wyvern returns! We know most of the story from here. Bahamut fights Wyvern, dies, is reborn, fights Wyvern again, so on. But right at the end of where Depth of Reality cut off, the story continues.
Yes, I need to know. I need to know that single...
Yep, this is how it goes. Bahamut charges up his Omniapex, and Wyvern attacks Bahamut with a Sang Pyron.
Wow!
Yes, now the Omniapex isn't necessarily an attack. It's more like a power level.
Yeah, it's like a Super Saiyan thing.
Sort of, yeah. And when he is in his Omniapex, he returns towards Wyvern a Giga Pyron.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it just gets bigger and bigger. So, Wyvern is defeated, but it's taken all Bahamut had. Again.
Yeah, multiple times.
And he has a tearful goodbye with his lover, Terra.
Aww.
After which, Bahamut ascends into the afterlife.
He's done.
No. Nearly 4,000 years later, a female scientist named Shinza discovers a large fossil with a seemingly serpentine face. Curiously, the proteins are still working within the fossil's DNA, and they believe they have discovered a sign of some sort of mythological immortal creature. This part is fucking long, but they inject him with nutrients and energy photons.
Yeah, they just inject the shit out of him.
Yeah. And the fossil starts to resume cellular activity. So they believe it may be able to be revived. At some point, they awaken Bahamut, and he is confused and angry.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you would be.
As you would be, yeah. They begin to speak with him, and Bahamut, for some reason, wants to hear about Shinza's backstory. Because we need another 100,000 words to build out this character.
Of course.
For years, they study Bahamut and his fossilized state. He listens to music, and they, give him some puzzles to do. No joke. That's literally what happens.
Yeah, what's he listening to?
I don't remember.
Is he like a Kendrick Lamar kind of dragon, or is he kind of like a...
Yeah. But at some point, Bahamut is somehow restored. Doesn't really matter. Fake science shit.
Yeah.
And he's welcomed into this new society. However, he's disabled. So he can't eat or drink, recline, and can barely move. So he just kind of stands upright and sits, and he becomes depressed.
I mean, come on. They brought him back to life. Come on.
So in his spare time, he becomes an Esper philosopher teacher. And the new society begins to think of him as kind of like a Gandhi figure.
Huh? This is really taking some strange tangents.
Yeah. Remember, this is still in the section about the Wyvern battles. So this isn't a completely new direction. It all builds. This is a long story. The arc on this is fucking wide.
Man, how can you write that much?
I don't know. This isn't even the author's only fan fiction. There's 20 of them, and they're all fucking long.
Oh my god.
From different franchises. But anyway, Shinza sets about rebuilding Bahamut a new body using nanites.
Oh my god.
And now, during this, Shinza tells Bahamut how her father used to rape her.
Well,
yeah, it takes some dark turns here.
That dragon is not a soft persimmon.
But so Bahamut is reborn. He gets a new body, and it's called Bahamut Zero.
Oh my god.
And instead of having a human form, he is now a cat person.
Yeah. A cat person. You can't. At least in Powerful Fruit, they stick to one fucking thing. They You're either a wolf, you're either a dragon, or you're either a drunk monkey, but you're not multiple.
Nothing is concrete in this story.
Now he's a cat.
He's a cat person now.
It's going to take a... Now he's a werewolf. And he's going to have his own harem. It's going to take that tangent.
I honestly haven't laughed this hard since the last throughout the episode. Okay. All right. An attack happens, and Bahamut saves everyone with a soul pirate.
That's bigger than a Giga Pirate?
You see, he doesn't actually give the power level sheets at the end of every section, only the first one, so I don't know, actually, how powerful a Soul Pirate is compared to a Giga Pirate.
I mean, he made the fucking sun. I'm sure these things are like...
Oh, man. He saves everyone, and then Bahamut convinces Shinza to abandon her studies, all of the science, and move in next to him so that he can help her with her pain. Now, of course, at this point, Shinza feels herself falling for Bahamut's devilish dragon charms.
Oh my!
And his new...
But he's a cat! I thought...
He's a cat person.
He's a cat person?
Yeah.
Can he turn into a dragon?
Well, at this point, he's like... I think Bahamut's like soul or his entity is like disconnected from his body. There's a lot of metaphysical shit in this. And he like assumes the body of a cat person, but Bahamut Zero is like a body that exists externally and he can go into it and out of it. He doesn't transform anymore.
Okay, so it's like a
mech or something. And now remember, this is written in perfectly clear English, so it's a lot easier to tell some of these things. It's not just an endless ramble.
I hope so.
And so a very large section of this part of the Wyvern battles has nothing to do with Wyvern, and is a section about Bahamut giving Shinza talk therapy.
Oh my god, that's just, like...
I skipped most of this.
You better have. This is where you really tuned in.
The thing is there's a lot of character development about Shinza here, and I don't want to get too attached to her, because at some point the story is going to jump thousands of years, as it always does, and she's not going to be a part of it anymore.
No.
I don't want to get too attached. I don't want to get too emotionally invested. But during this, Bahamut is having some visions, some premonitions, almost like precognitive abilities developing. And he has one of something called Sin, or Vengnagan, which is a demonic insect living below the ground.
Okay.
I must have skipped over where that turns into a thing because I don't remember what happens with it, but he's having these other visions, and he has a vision of a person he feels connected to for some reason.
And now Bahamut is a crab.
Yeah. That's where this is heading, basically, because he's so powerful. He somehow wills this imagination into being, and a boy appears before him.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep.
And so they speak about Bahamut is starting to be able to see the future. And Bahamut feels this burning desire to return to his home planet of Gaia, where all the Wyvern battles took place, to find this boy.
Oh.
The story takes the perspective of a character named Ragnar and proceeds into Final Fantasy VII territory.
Okay.
For like 15 chapters. Like almost 200,000 words worth. I skipped a lot of this.
That's like, I mean, like, if you consider, just for reference sake, I don't know, a long sci-fi book, would be maybe 100 to 120,000 words or something like that.
Yeah. Blindsight is 90,000 words.
Blindsight's I would say that's like
it's a lean book.
Yeah, it's lean for sci-fi, but that's on the larger scale of normal fiction.
Yeah.
I would say, like most fiction books, is 70,000 to like 100,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So 200,000 just for a side character.
Yeah.
It's
like a whole story that takes place like parallel to Bahamut's thing.
I've moved away from frustration over whatever the depth of reality was, and moved into frustration about this fan fiction which is like, come on, man, you don't have it. Like, wait.
And now, a lot of interesting things may happen here, but I'm more interested in the Bahamut-Wyvern struggle, because that's what Depth of Reality was about, primarily. That's what hooked us in.
Yeah, let's not stray too far away from the sunlight here.
Yeah, things we know. But Bahamut recruits Ragnar to take down Shinra, which, if you've played Final Fantasy VII, you know is the tyrannical corporation that is the source of major conflict in that world. It's a big, big player in that game.
Okay.
They meet Cloud, Tifa, Yuffie, and more of Seven's cast, and they go on a big, giant fucking adventure together, which I mostly skip.
Wise.
But hey, if you're a Final Fantasy fan and you like alternative storylines, you may actually enjoy reading this. But then, I skimmed through to find the most important bit. A man in a black cloak appears and reveals himself to be Nevrew, which is Wyvern spelled backwards. And he has a mustache. And there's actually an author's note at the end of this chapter where he says, "My name is Nevrew." It says, "To be continued. Author's note. Okay, by now some of you are groaning, some of you are sighing, and others are probably saying, oh, come on, not again." However, before you do, I'll go ahead and tell you that this is going to be the last Wyvern battle in the Wyvern battles. After this, the Wyvern battles portion of The Servant will finally be over. I told you it would last a while. In terms of what I have written down and not posted, I'm nearly finished with the Wyvern battles. After that, I'll finally move on to the fourth saga of The Servant, so hang tight. This time, it's not going to simply be Bahamut meets Wyvern, Bahamut fights Wyvern, Bahamut and Wyvern kill each other, Bahamut waits to come back so he can fight Wyvern again. I promise. There's some self-awareness there.
Yeah, there is self-awareness. I love the idea that he's like, he has these people that read, like, I don't know how many people read this. Do you have any information on that? How, like, popular this is?
Yeah. If you go to Piccolo Sky's main author page and you look at some of the pages for The Servant, for the first one, there's 59 reviews. There's 51 reviews for the second one, 83 reviews for the third one.
I thought it would go down.
164 reviews for the fourth one, 108 reviews for the fifth one, and the sixth one, 140. So this was actually a pretty decently popular story. Now, I don't frequent this website, so I don't know how active the user base is or if that's a high number for fan fiction, but considering how long this story is,
yeah, I mean,
that's quite a following.
Yeah, that's actually amazing to me.
Yeah. So, Bahamut meets Wyvern again, who tells him this time that he has figured out the truth in this grand struggle between them. And he says that you, Bahamut, are a curse upon Gaia, and that I am your ordained punishment for your sins. I am your personal hell made flesh. He's basically suggesting that all of Bahamut's plans have failed because they are meant to, and that Wyvern is actually the great filter to Bahamut's progress. And that no matter what happens, Wyvern and Bahamut must always exist together, always in conflict, until Wyvern emerges victorious. And then they fight.
And?
This time, Bahamut Zero fights Wyvern Evolution.
Oh my god. It's like...
They flash their pyrans and their pyrons and their omni-apexes.
Their dragon muscles are rippling.
Yeah, they're rippling up. Again, Bahamut is outmatched, but just as he is beaten, Bahamut uses a Supra Velo.
Supra Velo?
Yeah, and he says, you forgot about my power-up moves.
Of course he fucking did. He always does.
Yeah, and then they fight again. Now, meanwhile, it's important to remember that a whole war is going on with, like, Ragnar and the Final Fantasy VII gang, and it's, like, its own 200,000 word thing, like, between these chapters. Big fight, thousands of words long. Wyvern is bested. So the thing he said wasn't going to happen did happen. They fight again. And Wyvern pleads with Bahamut. He says, Big B, I don't want to die.
Hey, yo, Big B.
Please, Big B. And finally, we get a glimpse at possibly one of the most powerful moves in the, I'm going to call it Depth of Reality, because that's what I know it by, canon. Bahamut uses a Terra Pyron.
Oh my god.
Which is a nice callback to his love affair with Terra. The Terra Pyron melts Wyvern's face off, blasts him straight into the sun, and Wyvern is finally vanquished for good. Bahamut wishes his brother goodbye. The end. That's the end of the Wyvern battles. Now, there are 4 more parts to this story. there is an addendum which takes place in between this one and part 4 called the Kuja Saga.
No.
I'm not going to go in through these because I would need another week or so to parse out what happens in them. And perhaps we will at a later date. But this one is relatively small. And I say that, but it's still like 80,000 words.
That's ridiculous, though.
There's part 4, the Alaron Saga, which is 800,000 words. Then there's part 5, the Diablo Saga, which is just under 500,000 words. Now, most of these were primarily written between 2006 and 2009 or so. However, part 6, the Sorceress Cycle, was more recently published, around 2012. And the final saga in The Servant totals in at 1.5 million words.
That's just insane. That's actually, crazy.
Yeah, this story is massive. It's detailed, and it's coherent, if a bit silly at times, weaving together aeons of history connecting the already complicated and at times incomprehensible lore of the Final Fantasy universe is a triumph.
I mean, it is.
It's a real story, and at times it is truly epic. So I want to truly commend this author for doing this and viciously condemn Milan Vanorin for stealing it.
Yeah, it's a perverse thing to do. It's it's very, I would say, very lowbrow.
Yeah.
It's so pathetic.
Yeah. And they didn't even try to make it coherent. Like I said, Depth of Reality Unknown is taking from chapter 7 of the Wyvern battles to chapter 13 or something. And there's 50 chapters in that story. He didn't even try to take, a part that could be a beginning and a part that could be at the end, steal that and upload it. It's literally just random.
Yeah.
And they're getting money out of it because of the Kindle Unlimited program. People randomly buy it, you scroll through the pages, and they get money for it.
Now, Sword of Mortal Online, I don't think falls into that category. It just seemed like a poor translation. Powerful Fruit, I don't know.
Me neither, because when I discovered the original Depth of Reality, the way I found that, I tried to do the same thing with Powerful Fruit by taking parts of the text, searching for it, translating it into different languages, and then searching for that, because I felt that this one was probably more of a kind of translated rip-off thing.
Yeah.
I searched for a long time on the One Piece fanfiction board, and I couldn't find, the reason I thought Powerful Fruit in the beginning was a fanfiction is because of that update time format.
Yeah.
That's how fanfictions look.
Yeah. They are written sort of in periodic pieces, usually on blogs or whatever else.
Yeah. So I tried to look at the dates on that and search on the board for fanfictions uploaded at that time. I couldn't find specifically any that it was ripped off of. And it's because you can search by characters included in a fan fiction, and there aren't really any characters in Powerful Fruit that are from One Piece. It's just the only connection I could find was the fruit stuff and the picture of the dragon.
Yeah. Now, that is interesting because then you would assume he's taken the idea, he's taken this cover picture, but all the rest of Rent books are very similar. I mean, the image, it's not like a book cover.
No.
Even the worst ones we've seen, like Apocalypse Deception, which is the most shittily made book cover I've ever seen.
Someone at least made that for that book.
Yeah, someone made it for that book, and it's still in the shape of a book cover. I mean, it has Kyle Kinsey and the name of it, but this is just like a almost square image of that dragon with Powerful Fruit written under what I can only assume is some sort of font from Paint. It's so poorly done.
Yeah. Some of Rent's books just have artwork from Assassin's Creed or Nier Automata on it.
Yeah, just complete rips.
One of the books for sale on Rent's page is called Fire Emblems, and it just has a character from Fire Emblem on it. But the story does not seem to be about Fire Emblem at all. They're literally just tricking people into thinking they're buying stories about franchises they know already.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't there have to be a better way to make money than trying to scam the system on Amazon?
Yeah. So I think we've actually got 3 things here. Sword of Mortal is a different kind of scam than Depth of Reality is, which is a different kind of scam than Powerful Fruit is.
Yes.
One of them is a poor translation thrown up on Amazon for whatever, to grab a quick buck. Depth of Reality is a stolen fan fiction, and Powerful Fruit, still a mystery.
The Powerful Fruit is what it's called. It's Powerful fucking Fruit. No.
Yeah. At least the fucking title makes sense to the story instead of Depth of Reality Unknown.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, Depth of Reality Unknown, that's barely even, it just doesn't tell you any information.
No. But now it's The Servant.
And we have praise for The Servant.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that dedicated to your work, then regardless of how interesting it is to anyone else, that's a lot of passion. That's a lot of fucking passion.
Yeah. I bet when you walked into the studio to record today, you did not expect to be walking out with praise for the story of Bahamut and Wyvern.
Yes. It's an odd feeling walking out with conclusions.
Yeah, with closure.
With closure and conclusions, and it's a good feeling that I'll never have to worry about it again, and I'll never have to hear about it again. And I do want to make it very clear.
Except when I read the next 3 parts.
No. See, there will be no reading of the next parts. There will be nothing more on Bahamut and Wyvern.
Well, I'm going to read it.
No. Well, you can read it. You can, but...
Don't you want to know what happens post-Esper life? All the Espers are dead. It's just Bahamut now. Don't you want to see what kind of crazy shit he gets up to in the Diablo saga?
You can read it, and if anything more happens about Lich, then...
Lich is only in, like, the first part.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
He's super weak. He gets his ass kicked.
He was my favorite character.
Had, like, one line in Depth of Reality. I saw references to Khan, Singh, Noonian. They're all there. It's all real.
That is truly incredible, actually.
How does it feel to have closure?
I don't know if I'm happy or sad. I feel like I'm both. I feel I'm sad these people are scamming and stealing and just being so pathetic.
Yeah.
It really is like, come on, like, there are easier ways to get a quick buck.
Yeah.
Than ripping shit and throwing it up on Amazon. You know, it's just really piss poor. And on the other side, I'm happy that it is a real book. But because we had this idea that it was some sort of like computer amalgamation, some sort of strange, and I didn't like that theory.
Yeah.
Because it makes me uncomfortable that what's to stop them just producing stories on the regular? Like, what's to stop them, you know?
And it's fascinating how it all comes together. Who Crusader and Griever were, and that the text is all written. Like, all the questions we had make sense now.
Yeah, I did wonder what was Crusader, what was Lich, you know, all these things. And now I know, but I also feel like I shouldn't even know in the first place. Like, I shouldn't have had those questions, you know. It's like, you know, I should be learning, like, important, good things, you know. I should be, but instead, now I know now I know about the Wyvern battles.
Don't you want to know what kind of animal-human hybrid Bahamut turns into next?
Now he's Lich.
Now that would be a twist. I can't believe the Crusader and Griever were the same person. I was reading that and I was like, wow, what a twist.
So, yes, now I know the background for a stolen fan fiction of a game that I've never played. And that is something I'm sure our listeners will be thrilled to know about as well. Truly.
Well, as someone who has played Final Fantasy, it's fascinating to me.
How fascinating. How actually fascinating. Like, so, that is Powerful Fruit.
And The Servant.
And The Servant. Now, good riddance, to be honest. I feel like we'll see what happens in later seasons, but I think we will try steer clear of more of Rent's books.
Yeah.
As entertaining as a few parts of it were, most of it was like slogging through poisonous... It was like slogging through... I can't even think of what it's like to read. It's like you're reading and you can't understand the sentences. You're like, and you're giving it so much of your time, which also feels bad because you're like, this doesn't deserve my time, and yet you're sitting down and reading it. You're putting yourself through it for other people's enjoyment. You know.
Yeah, and as far as Depth of Reality goes, you know, I found some answers, but Still a lot of questions. Who knows what we'll uncover in the future?
Now, Milan Vinorin did get taken down.
Yeah.
Now, I believe not by his own making. I think that it was probably cleared out by Amazon themselves, or someone may have reported it or something like that. I'm a little bit disappointed that Milan Vinorin isn't a real name, because I want to find this man and shake him by the shoulders and say, please, do not cause any more harm.
We should let Piccolo Sky know about the BurnCast.
Yeah, we should.
He's still active.
He's still active, still writing.
Most recent story published November 2018.
Does he have any standalones? Does he have any, actual fiction that's not a fan fiction?
I don't know. All I have is his thing on fanfiction.net. Maybe if I search a bit more,
yeah,
find something.
Well, you get on that, and so what are we looking at next time? That's the good question.
Yes, so next time we are going to be looking at a book by an author we have already talked about. Now, should we say who that author is, or should we leave it a secret?
That is a good question. Let's keep it a secret. We don't often do secrets, but this time we will. And let's just say it's not Rent. It's not Milan Vinorin, and it's definitely not.
It's by a real author.
One that we love.
Yeah, well, one that... By all accounts, a real author.
Yes, no.
Now, a silly one, yes, but...
yeah, he's one of the better ones we've looked at.
And yeah, that's true.
He's top seed. He's top... In the BurnCast roster, he's one of the top seeds.
Yeah. So, we're going to be talking about another book by one of our favorite authors. We look forward to doing that.
Yes. Well, I look forward to moving on from... can we do real books from now on? My request,
No.
Thank you everyone for listening and supporting the show. And please, if you can, support us on Patreon, and doubly so, share our podcast with your friends. It's a huge help, and thank you to all of those who already do that. If you have a book you want us to look at, share it with us on one of our platforms and we'll consider it for the show. Thanks!